This is going to be the testimony that is going to change everything.
Which members of the Albert family were you familiar with?
All of them. Brian, Chris Albert, Brendan Albert, Kevin Albert, Kathy Albert.
What do you recognize that to be?
That is the Albert house, Brian Albert's.
What, if anything, did you see on the front lawn in the area of the flagpole?
I saw nothing.
See a body?
No.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to Buckle Up. It's the Law with Attorney Larry Forman. Folks, today we're going to go back in time. Today, we are going to cover the testimony from trial number 1 from May 2024 of Lucky Loughran, who just happened to be the luckiest man on the planet who is shoveling snow. That's all he's doing. He's just shoveling snow. And he notices something very peculiar happening in front of 34 Fairview. A truck blocking his view? No body? What? Oh yeah, folks, buckle up, because this is going to be the testimony that is going to change everything. And Lucky is, of course, going to testify in trial number 2 in just a few short days. So here's a preview of what we are to anticipate in trial number 2 in June of 2025. Let's go back. Here's June 2024. Lucky Loughran testifying for the defense. Watch this.
Good morning, sir. In a good loud voice, would you state your name and spell your last name?
Sure, it's Brian Loughran.
Now, in the course of living in Canton, were you familiar with the Albert family?
Yes,
Which members of the Albert family were you familiar with?
all of them.
And when you say all of them, can you name the ones that you were familiar with?
I was familiar with Brian,
Brian Albert?
Chris Albert, Brendan Albert, Kevin Albert, and I believe Kathy Albert's the sister, but I'm not 100% sure on her first name.
Did you know some better than others?
Yes,
Whom did you know the best?
Chris Albert.
And with regard to your familiarity with Chris Albert, can you explain to the jury how you became familiar with him and what your relationship with him has been?
I went to school with him, elementary school. We went to middle school, then he transferred to a Catholic school. Then later in years, I began to work for Chris for D&E Pizza, delivering pizzas.
And with regard to your interactions or knowledge of Kevin Albert, can you describe that?
Kevin Albert would be through D&E Pizza. If he came in through the police department, would see him on details.
So you're friendly with the Albert family.
Correct.
Back in January of 2022, where were you working?
I was working for the town of Canton.
In what department?
I was working in the sewer department.
Directing your attention to January 28th of 2022. Do you remember that day?
Yes. It was a potential blizzard. We had been given a start time.
And what does that mean?
It means that we're expected to be in our trucks at a certain time on our route.
Okay. And who gives those instructions back in January of 2022?
The supervisor for the Canton DPW,
And who was that at the time?
William Walsh.
Also known as Billy Walsh?
Yes.
When were you called in to do plowing that evening or early morning?
We were told to be in by 2:30
And is that 2:30 a.m. or p.m.?
a.m.
Would that now be on January 29th?
Correct.
Now, with regard to the visibility in your snowplow Franken truck, can you describe that for the jury, what you can see, what you can't see?
So the Franken truck has an air ride suspensions, an air ride seat. So the seat is raised so I can see over the hood.
Okay.
And I can see about 5 feet on either side of the passenger side, driver's side.
Now, do you have a specific route assigned to you?
Yes, I do.
Could you describe that route? And by the way, that specific route, was that the one that you were assigned on January 29th?
Correct.
Could you describe that for the jury?
Yes, it's a route that consists of Cedar Crest from Kings Road to Chapman Street and everything in between. There are a lot of streets I could name if you would like, but Fairview is one, Spring Lane is one, Cedar Crest, Kings Road. Those are pretty important roads that were, I would consider major roads on my route.
All right. Now, that particular night, if you got there at 2:15, what time do you think you were on the road by in Franken truck?
I was on Cedar Crest about 2:30, 2:35.
Do you recognize what's depicted on that?
Yes,
What is it?
it is my plow route and consisting of streets that I plow.
All right. And to be fair, that's a portion of your plow route, right?
Correct.
There are other areas of the city that you plow?
This actually depicts my actual physical route.
Oh, okay, great. And that's a fair and accurate representation of the streets as they existed back in January of 2022?
Yes,
I would offer that, Your Honor. Now, you just testified that you got to Cedar Crest, I believe, you said 2:30 to 2:35 or so?
correct.
All right, as we look at this exhibit on the screen, are you going from right to left or left to right on Cedar Crest when you first approach Fairview?
Right to left.
Okay, so you're going sort of from the upper right-hand corner of the diagram down Cedar Crest toward Fairview. Is that accurate?
Yes,
Could you take the laser pointer and just confirm that route for the jury? That's, okay. You see that's Fairview Road? Are you able to read that right?
I'm not, to be honest with you. I'm sorry.
Do you still have that map in front of you? Maybe that'll help you, Mr. Walker.
From where you're seated now, Mr. Laughlin, are you able to see what's on the screen?
Yes,
And do you recognize that?
yes.
What do you recognize that to be?
That is the Albert house, Brian Albert's.
And when you were passing the Albert home on Fairview, the very first time you passed it, would it have been on your right or your left?
It would have been on my right.
What section of the road were you plowing at that point?
The middle of the road.
Why is that?
I start in the middle and I angle right with the plow.
I want to direct your attention to when you were, your truck was essentially perpendicular to the driveway. You see the driveway in Exhibit 66?
Yes, I do.
When you were perpendicular to the driveway, where were your headlights pointed?
In front of me, in front of the truck.
And what were you able to see of
Watch this.
the front lawn of the Albert residence that very first time you passed?
I was able to see the entire front lawn.
Oh,
And about what time was it that you first passed 34 Fairview Road?
About 2:45.
Now, as you continued along past
2:45 a.m. He's driving past the Albert home, and there is nothing on the front lawn. And remember, the meteorologist testified in trial number 2 that the snow accumulation didn't start until much later, like the serious snow, like 2 inches an hour, 1.5 inches an hour. So there is a 0% chance that John's body could have been buried in like an hour and a half since Karen allegedly hit him, which means he was either inside the house already or still, or he was maybe dumped in the backyard to let him freeze to death, hence the House Long to Die in the Cold by Jennifer McCabe. My theory, for those of you who've been longtime followers of the channel, you already know, is that after the altercation, maybe they didn't mean to kill him, you know, maybe they just wanted to hurt him really badly, scare him, whatever, and accidentally realized, okay, we've done way too much damage to this guy. We have to, like, figure out what we're gonna do. And so Jennifer at 2:27, like minutes before Lucky drives past their house, she Googles, so how long does it take for a body to die in the cold? What we can do is we can dump him, let's say, maybe in the backyard. And it's just so heinous to just think about this stuff. But this is the calculus that they were probably doing. And they left him, and when his body froze to death, they maybe brought him back inside. They're like, okay, check the pulse. Okay, he's gone. Excellent. All right, and now we'll plan, because we don't want to just like leave him out there. We'll go around like maybe, I don't know, 3:30, 4, 4:30, 5 a.m. We'll carefully place his body out in the front lawn, and nobody will ever know, and we'll blame Karen for all of this. But they failed to account for Lucky, the snow plow truck driver. Oops! Keep watching. This gets so good.
driveway. Did you continue to have all of those headlights on in front of you?
Yes,
And as you continued along, what were you able to see of that front lawn? How much of it?
a very large portion, almost to the front steps.
And now, when you're plowing, where is your attention focused, sir?
My attention's focused in front of me and then to the sides,
Why would your attention be focused to the sides?
trying to be aware of any side traffic, any pedestrians, and God forbid, any animals.
When you were passing the Albert residence, as you pass every home, what attention do you pay to the sides of the road and the lawns that are adjacent to the road?
I'm, again, making sure that there are no animals, no pedestrians, and making sure no one's coming out of their driveways, not expecting to see me.
And with regard to Exhibit 66, do you see the flagpole there?
Yes,
Is that something you had seen previously?
yes.
And when you made that first pass by that residence at 2:45 in the morning, sir, with your headlights on, what, if anything, did you see on the front lawn in the area of the flagpole?
I saw nothing.
Oh! That is the one exception. The what, if anything, I will let that one slide, Yannetti. That was a good one. What, if anything, did you see in the front yard? Nothing.
If there had been a 6'2", 200-pound man lying in the snow there, would you have seen it?
Objection.
Sustained.
Yes.
Once you pass the residence, where do you go?
I go to the end of Fairview.
And what street does that intersect with?
That intersects with Chapman Street,
Where's Chapman Street on the exhibit? Down the bottom, the top, or which?
down the bottom.
Okay. And when you come to the end of Fairview with Cedar Crest in your rear now, right?
Correct.
Do you take a left or a right on Chapman?
I take a left
All right.
onto
And
Chapman.
once you take that left, what do you do?
I back up and then take a left to go back down Fairview.
Okay. So you're essentially doing almost a three-point turn in the road?
Correct.
All right. So now, do you go back down Fairview at that time?
Yes, I do.
And how far do you go down Fairview?
To the end, to Cedar Crest.
Now, at this point in time, you would also pass the Albert residence, correct?
Correct.
Would it be on your right or your left?
On my left.
Were you looking to the right and the left as you were coming down?
Yes.
How much light did your headlights illuminate of the Albert's front lawn as you were coming down from Chapman Street?
Coming down Chapman, just about the entire front lawn.
And again, with regard to
Wow.
that area around the flagpole, did you see anything on the lawn?
Nothing.
See a body?
No.
All right. Now,
Unbelievable.
after you've done these two passes, sir, where do you go?
I then take a right on the Cedar Crest. I proceed up Spring Lane, come down Spring Lane, and then do the remaining of my route.
How long did it take you before you wound up back at Cedar Crest and Fairview?
About 40, 45 minutes.
So would that put us at about 3:30 when you're about to make the second pass?
Objection.
Sustained, ask it different.
Sure, I'm sorry. What time was it, to your best estimate, in terms of when you would have approached Fairview and Cedar Crest again?
3:15 to 3:30.
All right. Now, when you approach that intersection again, are you approaching it such that Fairview would be on your left or your right this time?
On my left.
Same as last time.
Correct.
What do you do when you approach Cedar Crest? I'm sorry, when you approach Fairview and it's on your left?
At that point, I have an option. I can go to the end of Cedar Crest, or I can turn around at a street, depending on how much snow I have on Fairview.
And with regard to the decision you made regarding that choice, what decision did you make on January 29th at 3:30?
Went all the way to the end.
Went all the way to the end of Cedar Crest.
Correct.
Same thing you did the first time.
Correct.
And then you come back up.
Correct.
Is Fairview on your right or your left at that time?
It would be on my right.
And did you take that right?
Yes, I did.
What, if anything, unusual did you see at that time?
At that point, I saw a Ford Edge on the side of the road,
Where was it parked on the side of the road?
in front of the Alberts house,
Where in front of the Alberts house?
by the flagpole.
And why was that unusual?
The Alberts never had cars that were parked out front, and it just stuck out as weird.
Now, what were the snow conditions like that point? This is now I think you said about 3:15 to 3:30.
It's starting to accumulate a lot quicker than what it was previous.
And what policies does the DPW have regarding cars parked in the street during a blizzard where there's plowing to be done?
We are to notify the supervisor. At that point, he will make a phone call to the police, and depending on if they can have the resident move it, it gets moved. If not, it gets towed.
And with regard to that policy, did you comply with that policy in those early morning hours?
No, I did not,
Why?
because I was being courteous to the Albert family.
Now, once you saw the Ford Edge parked on the side of the road near that flagpole, what did you do?
I had to go around the vehicle and as to not hit the vehicle.
All right, and probably obvious, but as you're approaching the vehicle, was it faced in the same direction that you were traveling?
Yes,
And so you're going around to the left or the right of the vehicle?
left.
And once, as you were approaching that vehicle, were you able to see on the right side of that vehicle the lawn side?
Yes,
Did you see anything on the front lawn at that time?
Objection.
I'll allow it. Did you see anything?
no,
The lights were still on.
correct.
All right, now once you pass the vehicle, did anything attract your attention at all?
No.
All right, where do you go?
I go up to the end of Fairview and do the same process, take a left on this Chapman and back down Chapman and take a left into Fairview again.
Once you come back down Fairview, do you pass the Albert residence again?
Correct.
Was there that car that you saw?
Correct.
It moved from when you passed it the first time.
No.
Were you able to see the front lawn of the Alberts in front of you as you were coming down Fairview toward Cedar Crest?
Not as much as the first time because the car blocked the view.
All right. Now, after that, how long did it take you before you came back to that area to plow again?
About 3 hours.
Do you recall about what time it was that you wound up back on Fairview?
I don't honestly recall what specific time.
Sure. Approximately, if it was 3:15 to 3:30, that second time, what would be your best estimate of the time when you came back?
I would say if I had to say, it would have been 5:30 up Fairview and came back down, and then at that point I wasn't able to go further than Carriage Lane.
Okay, and when you say that you went up Fairview and came back down, you initially went from which side of Fairview?
Right side.
What would that be, the right side? I'm sorry. Would it be the Cedar Crest side or the,
It would have been Cedar Crest side.
coming from Cedar Crest and then you went up Fairview, came back down?
Came back down. As I'm going up, I am actually seeing first responders. And at that point, as I'm coming back down, the road's blocked at that point.
And
I
when
love
the
this
road
man.
was blocked, what, if any, plowing were you able to do after that on Fairview?
I was able to go as far as Carriage Lane and then turn around
And then I imagine it was several hours before you could plow again?
before I could plow Fairview to the end of Cedar Crest, yes.
All right. Now, I'd like to direct your attention to February 15th of 2022. We were approached by an investigator who wanted to ask you questions about what you had seen and done on January 29th of 2022. Do
Yes,
you remember his name?
yes.
What is it?
Paul?
And what was your understanding about whom Paul worked for?
Objection.
Ask it differently.
On February 15th of 2022, were you ever approached by anybody in law enforcement, sir?
No.
So what was your understanding of Paul's job?
Objection.
I'll see Councilor Tybar.
Point in 2022, were you ever approached by any police investigators, sir?
No.
When was the first time that you were approached by the state police in this case? Do you recall?
I don't recall the actual date, but I do know.
Year?
Yes.
What year was that?
2023.
Oh,
Do
wow.
you recall the name of the investigator that approached you?
Mike Proctor and Sergeant and I can't pronounce his name. I don't want to.
If I said Buchanan, would that ring a bell?
Yes, it is.
I have nothing further. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Good morning.
Cross by Lally.
This truck that you were driving, on that day, how long have you been assigned to that truck for plowing purposes?
I was assigned to that truck for probably 2 years, maybe longer.
Maybe longer. Were you driving that same truck in 2015?
No,
And you said in a statement to him at that time that you would have seen a body on the front lawn or the sidewalk. Is that right?
correct.
Now, are you aware that there is no sidewalk on the same side of the street as 34 Fairview Road?
Correct.
Now, you mentioned some familiarity with the Alberts and with the Albert resident. Are there other people on that route that you're familiar with as far as where they live and who they are and all that?
Yes,
And how are you equally familiar with them, more familiar with them, or less familiar with them?
equally.
Equally? Now, familiarity with 34 Fairview Road, does that extend to sort of the lighting around that area?
No,
So do you know that there is actually no street lighting whatsoever in the area of the fire hydrant, the flagpole, or anywhere there for several hundred feet?
correct.
And on February 15th, 2022, when you had this meeting with Paul, you told him about 3:30 or 4 a.m. Is when you saw this Ford Edge on Cedar Place, correct?
Correct.
Now, in fact, when you first spoke to this individual named Paul, you didn't tell him it was a Ford Edge, correct?
No, told him it was Ford Edge.
You didn't tell him first that it was a small SUV?
No, told him it was Ford Edge.
Do you remember at any time Paul taking you on the parking lot and showing you different vehicles and asking you if those vehicles matched what vehicle you saw?
No, he wanted to make sure that what I was telling him was accurate. So he showed me what was a Ford Edge, but I had already told him it was a Ford Edge.
So he brought you out to the parking lot at the skating rink that you were meeting at, specifically showed you a Ford Edge and asked you if that was the vehicle.
Correct.
Now, you told this Paul individual on February 15th that the SUV that you saw was exactly where Mr. O'Keefe's body was found, correct?
Correct.
How do you know where his body was found?
I told him specifically if he was looking at the door, the front door, it was about 3 feet to the left of the door. And with
To the left of the door?
looking at the front of the door to the left of the door, pushing it up Fairview.
So if he wrote in his report that you told him that the vehicle was exactly where the body was found, that would not be true?
Objection.
No, I'll allow that.
Could you repeat that question, please?
If he wrote in his report that you told him that the SUV was exactly where the body was found, that would not be true, would it not?
That would be true. The car was to the left of the door, putting it in front of the flagpole.
My question for you, sir, is how do you know where Mr. O'Keefe's body was found? At any point in time, did you see Mr. O'Keefe's body on the front lawn?
No.
So how do you know where Mr. O'Keefe's body was found?
Through police reports, police interviews, stuff that was posted on the media.
So you've seen police reports in the media?
Well, not the
correct?
police reports, I'm sorry, but what was said during on the news.
Nothing further.
Wow.
Anything, Mr.
Lally has nothing.
Question, I want to make sure that
Nothing.
you understand what's going
Oh,
on.
this
So
is
no
so good.
statements, right? Just ask a question.
I always do that. I apologize, Your
Okay.
Honor. You were asked a question by Mr. Lally. Are you sure you didn't see a black Lexus at around 5 a.m. in front of Fairview? And your answer was no. And my question to you is, does that mean that you're not sure if you saw one or that you didn't see one?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
I did not see a Lexus at 5 a.m.
At any point that night while you were plowing,
No,
did you see a black Lexus in front of 34 Fairview?
no.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, God. That was so good. Oh, I hope you guys found this as enjoyable as I have. This is huge. Lucky is going to testify again in just a few days, and I am here for it, folks. I am so here for it. So, I wanted to thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel. If you need a lawyer, call us 1-844-774-HURT, 1-844-774-HURT. Trial lawyers are standing by to get you the most money that you deserve. We are going to continue with Brian Albert and possibly some Welcher that we still need to catch up on. Some more witnesses coming your way this weekend, folks. We'll see you there. Bye, everybody.